Our next guest has a ground view of how AI adoption at enterprises is looking on the ground. Adam Mansfield is practice lead at UpperEdge, which helps businesses negotiate big contracts with enterprise software companies like Salesforce and ServiceNow. I want to bring on Adam to help us understand the current state of play of software heading into the new year. Adam, welcome back to the show. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. It's good to be here, Kosh. Always a pleasure.
I was told by my team that this is the only day that I can say Happy New Year, given that it's January 5th, and then I'm not allowed to say it afterwards. So I'm milking it for everything that it's worth.
All right. Hey, I get it. I have similar restrictions at my company, so I understand.
Okay, so look, let's talk about enterprise software. We had a crazy year in 2025. We're going into the new year. I want to understand a little bit from you first. You know, the three of the main companies that you help your clients negotiate deals with are Microsoft, ServiceNow, and Salesforce. And we've done a lot of reporting on all three of these companies. I want to understand from you how these three companies pitch their AI services differently in the market and what that kind of tells us about just how overlapping some things are in some cases, or just how uh, wild west it is in terms of trying to get people to actually buy these products.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? So there's a couple ways I would look at this. Number one, you have to think about these vendors, the vendors you just spoke to about Microsoft, Salesforce, and ServiceNow, right? So we start with Microsoft. Microsoft's foundational approach to the market is always the same. We are Microsoft. We already have a base of customers, so they come in with a one Microsoft approach, right? So we're investing, we're AI leaders. You should naturally come and follow us down this path. That's kind of the mindset. The problem is, and there's a lot of reporting out here on this, not just from my own insights, they haven't been able to scale that as much. Okay. So what they've started to do, and this is interesting, they've started to kind of transition a little bit away from kind of a headcount base. So Copilot, which is an add-on to your Microsoft 365 subscription. Copilot, $30 per user per month. It's their list price. They're having a little bit of stalling on the acceleration. Now, though, there's other consumption-based products that they've been pushing. Okay, so things like Copilot Studio. That's not headcount-based. That is how to build agents outside of Microsoft 365 that essentially is based upon a number of messages. So $200 per month for 25,000 Copilot. And that's how this runs. So they've started to create that flywheel effect that you typically see in AI vendors. The flywheel effect becomes really important because that is how the market's looking at things to accelerate revenue growth tied to AI. So
Right.
Microsoft is starting to transition there with that, okay? I would also say, and this is a really big one, Microsoft 365 E5, which is a foundational suite of products that they've also been trying to push onto the market. Haven't really gotten where they wanted to go. They have now included something called Security Copilot as part of E5. Now, part of that's to justify the July 1st price increases that are coming. But the thing that's really, really interesting here is somewhat of a hybrid. So you still have the Microsoft 365 E5 SKU, which is headcount based, but within it, you now get a number of Security Copilot, which is the security.
So you get more in there essentially.
Exactly. But here's the hook, though, Akash. It's really important. Those SCUs, you only get so many. And if you blow through them, guess what? You owe them more money. So they're now in a hybrid, which becomes very problematic for customers.
But this consumption-based pricing and usage-based pricing that you talk about here, I mean, this is uniform throughout for ServiceNow and maybe in Salesforce, right?
Exactly. So that's where I'm going. It's exactly. So Microsoft for the most part, led with Copilot, which is an add-on to the headcount base. And now they're starting to mix it a little bit. Salesforce, right out of the gate, consumption-based, flywheel-based, right? Which is Agentforce, as well as Data Cloud, which they always push together as one thing, okay? Agentforce originally was $2 per conversation. The market didn't like that. What's a conversation? I don't understand. So then they've transitioned to Flex credits. Well, Flex credits, you get a certain amount of credits driven by a number of actions. Again, what's an action? And I could go down that path, which I'm not going to do now, but that's all consumption-based. And that is really being driven when you talk about uniformity. Yes, it's to drive revenue, trying to do this in the market. Investors like that. But the other reason why you have to think about it is that these AI, these cloud vendors, they have accelerated cost profiles driven by the fact that their cost and structures with those underlying foundations are scaling based on real-time usage as well. So to maintain their margins, they have to sell products that are consumption based because that's the pain that they're feeling to their cost profiles.
So let me ask you a question about then consumption-based pricing and the impact that it has structurally on enterprise software. And you've been on the show before, and we've talked about this idea that, well, if the number of seats go down, how do you make up for it? And consumption-based pricing might be the answer to that. But one of the questions I have for you, Adam, is you know, with seat-based pricing, I mean, there was this whole idea that, hey, I just want to pay for the one vendor and I just want the one seat, and I'm not interested in going to all these different vendors. Just give me an all-in-one sort of platform. And now, in a world where it's, well, I'm only paying for what I use, I'm sort of torn on whether or not there will be a fragmentation of services because people won't really need this all-in-one platform, or are all these products overlapping, and what's the point of fragmentation when there's going to be consolidation anyway?
Yeah, so it's a lot here. I was told I only have so much time, so I'm gonna keep myself honest on this account.
No,
So
no, no, no.
here's the answer. In its simplest form, I believe it's still going to be very much a mix and a problematic mix for customers. And where I'm going with this is you're going to have some AI products that are going to be still headcount or hybrid, like ServiceNow you mentioned before, Pro Plus, that add-on to get the number of assists. You still have a unit, and then there's a number of assists, very much like I just talked about with E5. The big thing that's going to happen is these organizations are going to have to create, and when I say organizations, the customers, they're going to have to create governance models just literally on how we are tracking our actual usage at the seat level, like Bob in accounting or Sally in marketing. They need to be accountable for what they're using. Because think about it, when the consumption happens, it's not just one thing that Sally's using. Sally has 15 different applications, all different types of meters, and they have to all be organized and then spit back at a corporate level and govern, because those invoices are going to come from those vendors, whether it's Microsoft, Salesforce, ServiceNow, SAP, Oracle, all of them, right? So I don't think it's going to create an environment where, oh, it's so much easier now. I actually think you're going to have dashboards. You're going to have governance teams, quarterly meetings. There's going to be a whole host of things that are going to have to be put in place.
Trying to track what is actually being used. And does it? I mean, from what you're seeing from your customers, is the product working?
I mean, all right. So here's what I would tell you. I would tell you that I think there's some momentum to, okay, I kind of see where this is going, seeing where it's going. Here's the problem though. Seeing where something's going when you're cutting checks for millions of dollars for the thing that you're still wondering where it's going is a problem. The other thing I would tell you is that, is it working? Well, the first thing is we need to step back. How is it actually being used? This is the problem. The definitions of use, and you go back and say, well, are you using it? Someone doesn't even know what use is. Well, I don't know. I had 6 conversations. I had 5 actions. I don't understand what that is. So now you have this mix. So, and the fundamental question is it being used? I would say it's being used not to the level that was expected, number one. But number two, I don't think internally they've even figured out what use actually is, let alone ROI, productivity, all the things that the C-suite's expecting. And lastly, the problem is these vendors are still stuck in the mindset of push, push, push. Okay, I want X volume, you need Y number of actions, and they sell to this outer level to drive revenue. Here's the problem. When you challenge that vendor to say, how did you come up with that number? How did you come up with number of actions that you think I need? How did you come up with the number of credits? Dead faces. Maybe that's a bleak term to use, but the point is there's no way for them to actually define it because they're figuring it out too. So really, do I see use? I see testing. I see figuring out. I see willingness to explore. Am I sitting here with customers like, wow, I got this figured out. I love it. I see the ROI. Let's do more. That's far and few between.
So let me ask you one more question before you go. So now, with the customers you're talking with and representing in these deals,
Mhm.
what do they want more of from these companies? I mean, the
Yep.
products are there, and they're being packaged every which way and priced a number of different ways. And like, what do they want
What do they want?
more of?
Yeah. All right. So the first thing, honesty. They want them to come in and say, look, we ourselves are figuring this out. We ourselves are figuring out what the actual specific ROI productivity is going to be for your defined use cases for you. Lead with that. Honesty, work together, workshops, spend your time focused there. That's what customers want. Get over that hurdle, do the demos, see the value, and say, okay, now let's talk honestly. Let's commit to this amount with full transparency, which is the second thing they want. I need full transparency. What's used? What's an action? What's a conversation? What's an assist? I want it all defined for my scenario as you understand it today, not generic PDF, PowerPoints that you send to everybody, or I can go to
Right.
your website. I don't want that. The third thing, cost certainty. That's obvious, but let me play this down for an extra tick. One, it's upfront. But two, I want you to tell me, what does the world look like when the flywheel actually spins? The thing you want, which I may want too, what is it going to cost me? What assurances, what volume structures, what credit structures, what type of commitments, protections are you going to give me? Fourth, last thing I just thought of, investments. They need investments. These vendors need to come in and say, look, I know there's going to be change management. I know it's going to take time. Let us invest. Let us give you resources. Let us give you funding as investments to make the thing real, working together.
Okay. And do you think we get that in 2026? Yes, no, maybe?
I think we're going to get closer to it. Do I think we're going to get all of that? No. Do I think that vendors are still going to hold the line because they're stuck in where Microsoft, where Salesforce, you should follow me where I go? I do. Here's the problem. In 2026, I do think there's going to be vendors that are going to come around, whether it's a Sierra for Agentforce competitors or others that are going to come in and they're going to start accelerating their own usage, which then gets them in creating their own moats. So do I think? Yes, I think there'll be more. I think you're going to see better behavior. Do I think they're going to solve it willingly out of the gate? No. And I think you have to know how to orchestrate those conversations way in advance, which also not, that's something that we do. But the point is, customers need to do this with or without the help. They need to make this their foundational approach to get
Right.
behavior change. They have to force the behavior change, the customers, because the vendors are not going to do it. Because remember, these vendors we're talking about, they report to one group, the financial community, they're investors. That's it. They can talk about customers and how much they care about the customers, which I'm not saying they don't, but at the end of the day, they're publicly traded. Let's just be honest. They need to drive revenue, period.
Right. Well, Adam, I want to thank you for coming on. I appreciate the time. That is Adam Mansfield, a practice leader at UpperEdge here on TITB.